For resilience, we work at 3 levels. First, we work with communities to enable them to better deal with disasters and with measures that make disaster response more effective. And we also work with governments. We work with governments at local level, provincial level, and at national level. And to ensure that risk reduction becomes an integral part of their development strategies, their budgets, and that they include or plan for more funding to be allocated to risk reduction for the communities they work in. And thirdly, we work with civil society organizations. Sometimes community-based organizations, small units, sometimes the larger organizations. So in the beginning, we focused also on establishing common assessment tools to ensure that we captured at least the minimum elements that need to be addressed to ensure an integrated approach to disaster risk reduction.
We need to define an action framework for disaster risk reduction for the coming 15 years to follow up on the Hyogo framework for action. To focus on partners for resilience, we need to innovate. There are still enormous gains to be made through better cooperation between aid organizations and a more integrated response to the challenges we face. And that's exactly what the Partners for Resilience are doing. Their program on climate-proof disaster risk reduction combines 3 crucial elements. The first is disaster risk reduction, our reason for being here this week here in Sendai. Second, climate change adaptation. And third, ecosystems management. The program aims to implement these 3 approaches simultaneously. As we speak, it's operating in Ethiopia, Guatemala, India, Indonesia, Kenya, Mali, Nicaragua, the Philippines, and Uganda. And in all those countries, the Partners for Resilience are helping local people to cope better with big, abrupt blows. Starting in 2016, the program will be backed up by strategic partnerships to build lobbying and advocacy capacity. And through that program, the Partners for Resilience will amplify the voices of sovereign civil society. Local CSOs will be strengthened so they can hold governments and companies accountable and demand improved policies, investments and practices. And this will make vulnerable communities more resilient to disaster risks.
The best level of participation is when communities start deciding about their life. But NGOs many times, they take whole decisions at their own. What will be the objective? This much million is already available. You know, we will talk about water. In water, we will talk about resilience. Where is the decision making? And they will have 8 principles, then they will have 5 common points. So everything is many times pre-decided. And then, you know, so sometimes we try to set community in our pre-decided things and then we claim, oh, it's a decision making. See, he's talking the same language what we decided 2 years back. So, I'm sorry, but this is the reality many times. You know, so one is decision making starts from the bottom. A, give powers to the community. And powers not as an observer or as a decision maker in deciding. So we are trying hard. A, how to engage community in decision making. So we start as an observer, we engage, bring them at a level of discussion, then let them decide.
communities know that they have power and possibilities of changing the way the river behaves. I think that is where integration starts. So that was my message. The key thing that I want to drive, that communities and disasters do not operate in vacuum. There are certain reasons why certain trends are happening. There are broader climate situations that are changing, to making the situation more dynamic. So the key pitch is to encourage the recognition of the fundamental linkage between people and ecosystems, and build out of this interlinkage in the way we plan for risk, the way we talk about risk, and the way we advocate risk. Thank you.
I think we have three concrete results that we can show for this work. One is that we now have a strategic interinstitutional agenda which has been approved, and it's a direct result of this Partnership for Resilience program in Guatemala. The second is that now we have a national disaster risk reduction dialogue table with over 160 actors meeting together since 2011 to talk about disaster risk reduction, like I said, in an inclusive approach. And the third thing that I think is very important is that the position that the government of Guatemala is bringing here to Sendai is not what I want or not what the president wants. Is direct result of the national consultations that we've had with the National Dialogue Table on Disaster Risk Reduction. Partnership for Resilience has been a key factor to achieving these goals, is that we have signed an agreement with three major government institutions in Guatemala. It has helped create a national dialogue at all levels, where you have the national authorities present in the national dialogue, but you also have people from the communities, from the private sector, from the NGOs, all working together.
Early warning information is not normally available, in the sense that it is available but it's not palatable. And to make it palatable, we normally have to synthesize it and make sure that everybody plays a role. And by that I said, if you want something, then you must play a role. That is to say, the communities have to play their roles effectively, particularly in the gathering of the information and in the usage of the information. Because having the information, and if you cannot use it, then you cannot do some action which is going to help you resilient or prevent or mitigate a disaster.
What we have learned is building capacity is really very, very crucial. Building capacity, sustainable building capacity of the communities, so that they have resilience livelihood.
What I take away from this session today is that I'm very pleased and happy to hear that people are at the center of their own fate. And we have been talking a lot about communities and about authorities and resilience, but in the final end, resilience has to be with the people. But the real work is always done at grassroots. And the first people that respond in a disaster of whatever kind are the local people and not the authorities, because they are there and they will have to do the first things to rescue themselves and their livelihoods. So I think the emphasis should be really on the people, because they are the ones that we care for.
Yeah, obviously the main call to action is to make sure that the most vulnerable people are also reached by all commitments that we make. And those commitments are not only about funding in the future, but they are also about involvement, real involvement, tapping into the knowledge and experience of communities and helping them to help themselves. I think one of our key messages would be that we tend to underestimate the resilience of communities themselves, so we need to get them much more profiled.